Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam's first canto, continuing chapter 1, questions by the sages. Text today is number 22. Tvangnak sandarshito dhatra dustarang nistitir shatham kaling sattvaharang pungsam karnadhara ivarnavam. Translation. We think that we have met your grace by the will of providence, and thus we accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the dangerous ocean of Kali, which destroys all the good qualities of a human being. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self-realization, but due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, the lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength, and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so this age is very difficult for those who want to utilize this life for self-realization. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realization. Out of madness, they frankly say that there is no need for self-realization, because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification. And if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Learned men, therefore, must be cautious of this dangerous age. And if they at all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali, they must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and accept Sri Suta Goswami or his bona fide representative as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tvangna sandarshito bhattatra dustarang nistitir shadham kaling sattvaharang pungsam karnadhara ivarnavam. We think that we have met your grace by the will of providence, and thus we accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the dangerous ocean of Kali, which destroys all the good qualities of a human being. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanam Yanashalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Soditau Gautadai Pushpavanto Chidro Shando Tamonudau. So we keep hearing about the age of Kali. We heard about that yesterday also, and about all the unfortunate developments in this age, and how the degradation of this age has been foretold 5,000 years ago by Srila Vyasadeva. He is elaborating upon it, and also, like it was stated here in the 12th canto, we hear about all these predictions, and they're all coming through one after the other. So this age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Srila Prabhupada opens the purport by stating that. So we know all the unfortunate qualities, and they were not seen in previous ages. They didn't have these qualities, and as time progresses from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, they are gradually becoming diminished. more and more, but like 5,000 years ago they couldn't imagine the state it has come to today, as we also heard yesterday. So we know these qualities, they are explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th verse in this first chapter. We heard about these different qualities. Prainal sayusa sabya kalavasmin yogejana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya yupadrutaha. So these are the qualities of those who have taken birth in this age. These living entities are lazy, misguided, always unfortunate. All these bad qualities are explained, as we also heard here. The conditioned living entities in this age are simply geared towards sense gratification. That's their main focus in life. That's completely permeating their consciousness. They want to gratify the senses and the mind. And the whole educational system is geared towards that too. They're told, the children in school, they need a good education so they can get a good living, get a good salary. And what is the purpose of it? Well, it's maintaining a family, but what are the family engaged in? They're engaged in gratifying the senses. And all these big institutions, they are all having this aim, whatever they're called, whether it's whatever it is. And culture is also all for sense gratification. Also the so-called high culture of this age. People go to the opera, they go to the theater, and like that, and get the higher. They're seeing a ballet. It's a very refined art form, and it's still sense gratification, even though it's kind of more finer and regarded higher. Or they go and they hear the Philharmonica. They play very beautifully. All the different instruments are playing in perfect harmony with each other. All the violins and the whatever they use. It's very beautiful music. You can say it's more elevated, but it's still sense gratification. Also the Indian ragas and like that. Very sophisticated music with the sitars. It takes so many years to learn to master that. The great Acharya, and that was Ravi Shankar. He was completely expert. His whole life was engaged in music, and very difficult instrument to learn. So he used kind of his whole life, and hear all these wonderful ragas. They are very fantastic, but they're not connected to Krishna. It's still sense gratification. It's just a more refined form of sense gratification. So when all these people, they dress up in the men in their suits, and the women all wonderful dresses, spending so much money and all the makeup, everything, and they go to this beautiful building, the opera house or whatever, and they, it's all social interaction. It's all centered around sense gratification. So whatever you choose in this society is all sense gratification. It's more, maybe more gross. Someone goes to the movies and watch an action film, and you see whatever star is, killing one rogue after the other and doing all kinds of superhuman feats, going in a wire up in the skyscraper from one skyscraper to the other, and it's not long enough, the wire, so he has to let go, and then he goes goes into one window on the 116th floor or whatever. So it's, it's just a more gross form of sense gratification, but it's still the same. It's gratifying the senses and gratifying the mind. And some, very few, but they're more like on the intellectual platform. And they are involved in all kinds of, whatever their field is, whether mathematics but still gratifying the intellect. And that's still sense gratification, just on a more refined platform. So some are engaged in like that, philosophy, mathematics, whatever it is. We're still satisfying the self. Like we have had this one previous devotee who was engaged in devotional. He was very intelligent. He was, I was friend with him many years ago, he joined and lived in the temple. And then at one point he left Krishna consciousness and he went to live in the United States. And he was so brilliant within his field that he actually had a doctorate in mathematics, and he became a professor in a university in there. So, and he's a very good person. He's some level. I guess he's still a devotee, but now he's all you see on, speaking about now Facebook. I follow him and like that. There's no Krishna there. It's all different levels of sense gratification. Maybe it's about whatever, some excavation, archaeological excavation in some part of the world, and so he's delving into that or whatever. But it's just another form of sense gratification. It's just more refined. So that's all there is in modern society. That Kali Yuga is very, very dangerous, because the aim is, as we know, the human form of life is not to satisfy the senses, because that's simply keeping one in the bodily form of life, having to repeat, having to take one body after another, and that's not very intelligent, as also described by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. So many wonderful verses there. And one we heard a lot lately. Nati vidu svartakatim hi Vishnu is stating that the conditioned living entities, they do not know that the purpose of life is to engage in the service of Lord Vishnu. Nati vidu, they do not know that. They're simply absorbed in sense gratification. And that's not very wise, Prahlad Maharaj says, because then they have to take on one material body after the other. So it's very difficult to become self-realized in the age of Kali. Very difficult indeed. So in order to get free of the onslaughts of the age of Kali, one has to take up the process of devotional service. And doing that means we have to find a captain of the ship, as stated in this verse today. One has to take guidance from an advanced devotee. Otherwise there's no chance of becoming liberated from the shackles of material life. It's also stated by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Naishang matistava rukramangrim sprishat chanarta pagamo yadarta mahiyasang padarajo vishekam nishkinchananam navrinitayavad. One has to smear one's body, one's head, with the dust from the lotus feet of an advanced devotee. Abhishekam. It states in the Abhishek is a bathing ceremony of a divine personality, not a normal bath, snana, but Abhishek, it's divine personality. So you have to bathe from the dust of the feet of such an advanced person. That means you have to serve him. That's seva. When you speak so much in the Shastra about feet, lotus feet, it means service. So that's the expression of love, that means service. If you love someone, you do things for them. It's not just words. Words is a part of it, yes, but you also have to act. So it's not enough just to say, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. But if you never do anything for the person you love, what's the value of that love? So that's why in this world we see very practically, when someone wants to get into a relationship with someone, they do things to please that person. Traditionally, the man was always bringing flowers or chocolate to the lady and like that. And then he might attain her favor. I used to hear a lot the old Genesis, and there's one song, I forgot it, very beautiful. These are nice form of sense gratification, also more refined, you can say, on a certain level. The style is called pro-rock. When we hear, Pink Floyd and all this stuff, this is called progressive rock. That's a genre. So there's one song, and I forgot the title of it, but then it was stated, this person, he was like waking up and he was doing things, and then he was bringing, he went out and bought chocolate for his dear one, and she was waking up and doing all the things, and anyway, forgot it, the song. But that's the thing. You do things to please that person, and the same with Krishna. You please Krishna by service. That's what we do. So, as stated by Prahlad Maharaj, you have to take the dust from the advanced persons. Only then can you get rid of material contamination. There's no other way to do that. Also, we sing every day in the Mangalarti, Yasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada. We get Krishna's prasad by pleasing the Supreme Lord, get Krishna's mercy by pleasing his pure devotee. And without doing that, Nagati Kutopi, there's no way of getting Kati, getting the ultimate destination without serving the pure devotee. So that's the secret of success in spiritual life. That is pleasing the pure devotee. And it's not only the pure devotee, it's like, yes, because that can actually also be a sign of Kanishta, Adhikari, someone, I simply serve my Guru Maharaj. He doesn't serve anyone else. You know, it's like, we know Prakritas, Kanishta Adhikari. He generally says he worships the Supreme Lord in the temple. He worships the deity very nicely, but he doesn't know how to treat other devotees properly. So in the same way also we see sometimes they are like kind of doing the same with the Guru. They do everything to, please the Guru. Oh, I have no time to help you. I have no time to assist you here because I have to serve my Guru Maharaj. Then he's forgetting a basic thing. Because how do you get to the level of being able to serve Krishna or even serve the spiritual master? That's also going through the devotees. It's a practice every single day. We have to practice this. Not only when the Guru comes, because like in our society, whatever ISKCON society, it's most of the spiritual master has so many disciples, thousands. They come only once in a while, not very often, like we know from the past with our spiritual master Harikesh Swami. At that time, he came like 4 times a year to the Danish Yatra, and then everyone was, of course, very eager to get, to do some seva for him. Most of the time, he was not here. So how do you serve him? Okay, of course we serve him by going book distribution and do whatever he wanted to do, but it's a practice every single day. And who are there every day? Not the Guru, but the devotees are there every day when you live in a devotional community. So you serve the devotees. It's a practice every day. Because also we know that, I forgot the Sanskrit now. And we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis, right? So we go so many back. So devotee act Gopi Bhartu Kamalayor Dasa Dasa Dasanu Dasa. Exactly, thank you. Yes. So the devotee does not consider himself I'm a servant of Krishna, no. I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of. When you get to the higher level, that's the humility of an advanced devotee. It's not an artificial thing. It comes naturally with purification. So he's so many times removed the servant of Krishna. So we have to serve the devotees, and we have to get a captain of the ship and advanced devotee. And that's what this verse speaks about. And also today is a special day. It's the appearance day of Srila Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya was the Supreme Lord himself. And this is inconceivable. I do not understand, but he was a combined incarnation of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva. And Mahavishnu, of course, is Vishnu Tattva. He is the Supreme Lord himself. Sadashiva is Shiva Tattva. The Shiva that's eternally situated in actually the spiritual world, that form of Shiva. But he's like almost Vishnu, but not exactly. So how can someone be a combination of both? We have to get to that platform to understand. I do not understand it. Anyway, so he is Vishnu Tattva, the Lord himself, but he acted as a servant. That was his role. So, and the Lord is, is working under his own Sarup Shakti, his internal potency. So when he's engaged in a lila, he's not aware in that sense that he's the Lord. So Advaita Acharya was not aware that he was a Lord. He was in the role of a devotee. So he came like 50 or 60 years prior to Lord Chaitanya. So he was much senior. He was with the generation of Madhavendra Puri and Lord Chaitanya's parents, Jagannath Mishra and Satyamata and Ishwara Puri. So he was contemporary of those. And he was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, actually. Madhavendra Puri was the first in our line to made a huge shift in the Brahma Sampradaya. Before that there was no worship of Radha and Krishna. So that was introduced by Madhavendra Puri. So he's very, very special. And Madhavendra Puri, of course, is the spiritual master of Ishwara Puri, who is the guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Advaita Acharya, he was acting like a devotee, and at that time the devotional practice became was very much diminished. People became more and more influenced by the desire to enjoy the senses, like again the influence of time, the age of Kali. So they gave up more and more the service of the Lord, and Advaita Acharya became he was very sad to see that. And he was the leader of a small community of devotees. He was living in Shantipur. He took his appearance in a small village some distance away, but his parents moved to Shantipur, and then he lived basically his whole life in Shantipur. He had two houses, one in Shantipur and one in Mayapur also. So he had both places, but most of the time he was living in Shantipur, which is in the district of Nadia and not so far again from Mayapur. It's very close to present-day Krishnanagar. So he was living there, and he was very sad seeing the situation at that time, because Navadvip was a great center of learning, and previously it was a great center of devotional, of bhakti. But that had also changed. Now, at the time of Advaita Acharya, it became a great center of learning, but not of devotion, of all the different aspects of learning. We know there's so many different schools, Nyaya and rhetoric and whatever. There's more material knowledge, even though it was based in the Shastra, but it was not dealing directly with the service of the Lord. So he was very sad to see that development. So he read actually in the Shastra, because it got to a point where it became very troublesome for him seeing that decline. So he read in the Shastra that you can satisfy the Lord simply by offering him Ganges water and tulsi leaves. Then you can satisfy the Supreme Lord by that act. Of course, we have to remember this is Leela. He is the Lord, but he's covered by the internal energy. So he's acting out, because, again, we've been speaking about this previously. You cannot really enjoy if you know what's going to happen. I'm the Lord, this happens, anyway, No, he's living in that. In order to enjoy, he has to be ignorant. But that ignorance, of course, a divine ignorance. It's not the ignorance of this world. It's something that Yoga Maya, Krishna's internal energy, arranges automatically. It's not like Krishna or Vishnu or whatever form have to consciously order Yoga Maya to act. Yoga Maya acts automatically. He doesn't have to ask anything. She's just doing it. So Krishna, in this here, Advaita Acharya, who is Krishna's Mahavishnu, is not aware of all this stuff. It's a Lord's Leela, so there's a divine ignorance there. But so he wants to mitigate the system. He wants to bring back bhakti. So he read this in the Shastra, and then he started acting like that. He started worshipping his shalagram, because he was a Brahmin. He was a high Brahmin. And he was all the Brahmins, they are worshipping traditionally shalagram in their homes, that form of the Lord. So he took the shalagram to the bank of the Ganges, and then he started worshipping with Ganges water and tulsi leaves, and then he was petitioning the Lord, he was calling for the Lord to kindly appear to reinstate the culture of devotion. And the way he did this was like, it was very, very intense. It was like he was actually audibly, loudly calling for the Lord. So he was sitting there on the bank of the Ganges and more or less screaming. Not screaming, maybe not screaming is too hard a word, but he was calling very loudly for the Lord to appear. Like intensely, my dear Lord, kindly appear in this age and do something about this. So the intensity was there, the heart was there, so intense. And he wasn't doing it like one time, or 2 times, or 3 times. He was doing it for months, stated. Months he was doing this worship. So this is like this prayers and shreyas. Prayers means like immediate results, so you get them quite quickly, results. And shreyas mean long-term results. So in this world, in this present age of Kali, everything is prayers. People have to get instant results, whatever it is. I do some work for you, I get a result in form of money or something else. And people have to get, the senses are calling for food or whatever, and they go to a drive-in and they order boop, boop, and then they get whatever their food, like that. It's all warm, wrapped or whatever, and they take it and enjoy it, no time. So everything is kind of instant. You get instant, you don't have to wait for it. This is people today, they can't wait. Like they have to get it now. They don't have the patience any longer. But devotional life means very much shreyas. It's a long term. The process of bhakti is not anything light. It's not cheap. You have to pay a price, and that shreyas, you have to do it day after day after day. Day after day you have to follow the sadhana bhakti, the Vaidhi process. You have to get up early in the day, do a little tapasya, get up. You have to take that shower even if it's winter, and then you go and you worship the Lord for 5 o'clock in the morning and like that. It's a little tapasya. You do it every day and you get purified. And you do all the things. You day in and day out you do it, and then you get gradually purified and more approach the result. It doesn't come like that 1 year, 2 year, oh now I'm initiated, now I've been doing this for so long. Oh, why is Krishna and Radharani not dancing on my inner eye? Why I'm not seeing that? This is like many there. They don't have that patience. No, it takes a long time. It's shreyas. So the same with and we hear also in the Shastra, like people were worshipping, doing whatever vratas, whatever vows for a long time. Like the gopis, they were worshipping Katyayani for a whole month or whatever. Every day they did the same. And so here, Advaita Acharya, he was doing this for several months, not just a few times. So we should understand that it's not whatever prayers we do a very high goal. It's not just one prayer. I asked, 3 weeks ago I did a prayer, I don't want to bother, because that was my personal kind of doubt. We pray for something, but should we do it again? Isn't it a kind of bother to Krishna? We heard you, he's in the heart, but no, here's the example from Shastra and we hear from Advaita Acharya. He was doing it for months, and it was intense. So whatever we do, we have to do it many times. This is not like Krishna gets bored or irritated. It's a sign of love. And Advaita Acharya, he was calling from within his heart. He was calling for the Supreme Lord. It takes something to do that. And then, of course, the result came in the end, that Lord Chaitanya manifested when the time was ripe. And so Advaita Acharya, he's called Acharya, someone who teach by example. So his whole life was acting as a devotee of the Lord, and he was a captain of the ship. He was leading that community of devotees. So Advaita Acharya, his whole life is one big lesson we can learn from. So on the day like today, on his appearance day, we celebrate him by fasting half day until noon. And then actually according to Shastra Hari Bhakti Vilas on Vishnu Tattva appearance day, we should not take grains. I know this is a controversial subject because sometimes Prabhupada actually said that we could take grains on this day, and that's why it's a controversial subject also. But it's actually stated in the Shastra Hari Bhakti Vilas very severe reactions if you do take grains on Vishnu Tattva appearance day. So you can say better safe than sorry. So that's, yeah. I know one of my previous godbrothers, he is like anything going like that. You cannot take any grains on Vishnu Tattva appearance day. So that's one of his trademarks. So anyway, best to not take grains on a day like that. So anyway, we fast half day, and then we hear about Advaita Acharya. I just spoke a little bit, just a tiny bit, because time is running out and I'm finishing off now. But we should kind of read about Advaita Acharya and discuss him or whatever. Today Advaita Acharya, another day, like soon Nityananda Prabhu will be his appearance day, and then we should be absorbed in talks about Nityananda. Nityananda Triyodashi is coming up on the 3rd of February, very soon, and here we celebrate it on the day after, or both days actually. Our public program will be on the Saturday the 4th. Everyone is invited to come. And so then we'll be absorbed in Nityananda and who is Nityananda, the philosophy about him and his Leela and everything. So today it's Advaita Acharya. So we have to find a captain of a ship and surrender to such a captain. Everyone needs a captain, everyone needs a leader, and that also goes in spiritual life. Nobody can attain the goal without a leader, and that leader has to be qualified. That means the heart has to be pure, an advanced Vaishnava. So thank you for your attention. Maybe there's a question or comment. Chaitanya Prabhu.
You mentioned that we should serve the Guru, but we should also serve the so-called small devotees. And that's more available, but also we hear in Jaiva Dharma that actually you should serve the Uttamadhikaris. And you shouldn't really, it's mentioned directly or more indirectly that you should not even bother with the Kanishtas. And also we have in Nectar of Instruction, Krishneti Yasha Kiritan Manasatrayeta, that the neophyte devotee of Kanishta Adhikari should serve only the mind. So how do we balance this? Because we know Prabhupada put so much emphasis on we are serving the so-called small devotees and really getting the mercy in that way. So how do we balance that?
Yeah,
we understand that seemingly contradiction.
Yeah, you use the word seeming contradiction. So there are so many seeming contradictions in Shastra. So many different fields, and you mentioned one of them here. Yes, it's definitely, it's so. It's the best thing is, if, like you stated from Jaiva Dharma, to worship the Uttamadhikaris, because you get most benefit from doing that. The more advanced a devotee is, he or she, you get more benefit from serving a more advanced devotee. So naturally it says, it's like, you get the most benefit, you would go for that. But what if you do not have such Uttam Adhikari anywhere around? What do you do then? Do you want to wait and not do anything? No, it's stated, all it says in the Jaiva Dharma, you should only do Uttamadhikaris. I do not see any Uttamadhikaris. So then you don't serve any devotees? No, you have to do what you have. If you have that opportunity, yes, you do it. But if you don't have any of that very highly advanced devotee around, you take someone who is, as advanced as you can find. That's practical. And devotional life is also practical. And again, also, there's another side, as I also mentioned in the lecture, there's also the risk that someone gets overwhelmed by, I can only serve, my guru or an Uttamadhikari. And others are like, no, I'm too good to serve them. So material contamination can also manifest like that. Because the devotee is seeing himself as a servant of everyone, even of the non-devotees. Very highly advanced devotee will see everyone as engaged in Krishna's service except for himself. That's an Uttama Bhakta. And that's inconceivable for us. How can he see like a butcher as a servant of Krishna? He's standing there with his big chopper and you know. But that's the Uttamadhikari. With his vision, he is seeing him as engaged. Like, we can't understand that. And again, Krishnadas Kaviraj, such an elevated, and he sees himself as lower than a worm in stool. He considers himself, like we know after ending every chapter, he's stating like that. And it's not artificial. He feels like that. So we have to see, we have to help everyone. We have to engage everything in Krishna's service. So yes, if you have a very advanced devotees near, best to utilize your energy primarily in serving him, but you cannot neglect others. Like if it's another come and they need your help, you really, Prabhu, I need your help to do this or whatever. I have no time for that. I have to go there and serve. No, you also have to serve there. So that's kind of the balance. We have to...
Das, anudas.
Das, anudas.
The more removed it is from Krishna, actually the more benefit.
Yes. You get most benefits from serving a very advanced devotee, but you cannot neglect others.
I think perhaps the risk-taking of one wanting to please Krishna and the spiritual master is also like you can calculate that this is very positive also, because Srila Prabhupada, he also commented that he wanted to send out one of his disciples to preach in a foreign country, and he didn't want to do that. So he simply just ignored Srila Prabhupada's order or instructions and stayed around and tried to serve Srila Prabhupada personally. And he commented to some other people that just look at him, he's trying to stay here serving me. I ordered him to go forth, and now he's simply like a bug crawling on the spiritual master, bothering him. So this service is like you can serve anywhere. You don't have to serve the Uttama Adhikari at his lotus feet or crawl around his legs like a bug. You can serve him no matter where. And I think it was Srila Prabhupada commented to Bhavananda Prabhu that we will be linked, never mind wherever. The holy name will travel all around the world, and we will be linked like that. So the further away, the more risk we are taking for the spiritual master to please him, the more engaged in his service we will be. So actually we can be separated by the length of the distance from the spiritual world to this planet, trying to please Srila Prabhupada as the pure devotee, and it's still bona fide, I think. Can you comment on this?
Yeah, there's two things. There's Vani and Vapu. Vapu means the form, and Vani means the instructions. So serving the spiritual master Vapu in person when he's there, that's definitely devotional service, and all devotees will aspire for that. Everyone would love to be around Srila Prabhupada. Yes. But then you have to follow the orders of the spiritual master. And if the order is, no, you leave my personal service and you go and preach, then you're pleasing him by doing what he wants. No, but, then you cannot say, but, I want to serve you like this. Then it's the disciples' desire that takes precedence, right? So no, you have to follow the order of the spiritual master. And that's actually the case of our former spiritual master also. He was serving Srila Prabhupada in person. He was secretary and enjoyed that very much. But Prabhupada wanted him to go and preach in the eastern countries and in Russia. And he didn't want to do that. And he even stated, but what can I do there? There's no vegetarian food. I have to eat meat. And Prabhupada said, we heard something. And he said, Prabhupada said, well, then you have to eat meat. And then he said, Prabhupada, what about my consciousness? Eating meat affects your consciousness. And Prabhupada said, to hell with your consciousness, you have to preach. So the example was there, Vani and Vapu. And Vani is actually higher than Vapu. Vapu is limited because we can only do Vapu when, in certain circumstances, and then when the spiritual master leaves, and, leaves his body, goes to the spiritual world, then you cannot serve the Vapu any longer. But Vani is eternal. You can always serve Vani, and it's actually a higher level, serving the instructions of the spiritual master.
So perhaps you don't have to look that far from to find an Uttama Adhikari, because you're sitting right here and you're serving Srila Prabhupada by audibly reciting his books to it may be Malechas or Sutras or Brahmins, but you're actually serving him by rendering service also to anyone, karmis, devotees, and whomever will listen. So you're engaged in their service and his service, and you're actually engaged properly. Or how should we take it?
Well, Vani is not limited. Vani, the instruction of the spiritual master is not limited, and the spiritual master is also not limited. Prabhupada can be fully present for someone who is very advanced. He can be fully present wherever they go. Also, Prabhupada stated that he always felt, because he left India, went to the US, and he was all alone. There was no god brothers around. He was just on himself in this foreign country. He never left before. Just imagine that, and then going to the Bavaria, going to whatever in the US. And he said, I never felt alone. I always felt my spiritual master was there. So he felt the presence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, even though he was far away, because the spiritual master, it's a transcendental potency. It's not limited by time and space. So I always probably felt the presence. Like you can go somewhere and you can actually feel the presence of a spiritual personality if you have that qualification. So we can be in Siberia or whatever, and it's all cold or whatever, you can feel the presence of Prabhupada. But if you're really serving his order like that. So that's the nature of the spiritual potency. Also, like we can be here in a little village in the northern part of Jutland, and we can, in the morning we chant Mangalarti, we chant Krishna's holy name, and if we're really absorbed in it, there's some purity, we can feel Krishna's presence. So that's both, that's counting both for Krishna and for his pure devotee, because it's the internal energy. So
it's so nice.
Yeah.
There's one side thing there, because Advaitacharya, he came as a bhakta. So are you sure it's considered a Vishnu Tattva appearance there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was acting, Lord Chaitanya was also acting like a bhakta.
Yeah.
He was also acting like a devotee. And what do we do on Gaur
That's
Punim?
definitely Vishnu Tattva appearance there, but I'm not so sure with Advaitacharya.
Advaitacharya is Mahavishnu.
Yeah. But it's considered Vishnu Tattva appearance there.
He's Vishnu Tattva taking the role of a bhakta.
Mm-hmm.
Lord Chaitanya is Vishnu Tattva, he's Krishna himself taking on the role of devotee. Mm-hmm. Lord Nityananda is the Supreme Lord Balaram, he's taking on the role of a bhakta. They're all Vishnu Tattva appearance days. He is Mahavishnu.
Yeah, I know that, but again, since he comes as the role in the bhakta, and I could say
I just explained the same with Nityananda and Chaitanya.
Yeah.
So no,
but I have never considered Acharya's appearance day a Vishnu Tattva appearance day.
I always thought.
Yeah, maybe we can work it out.
He is Vishnu Tattva. We're fasting half day.
Yeah.
Of course, we also fast on like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yes, so you can say that's not a proof in and of itself. But then, is an incarnation of Mahavishnu. Is Mahavishnu not Vishnu Tattva?
Definitely, but again.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So, he is Vishnu.
Shastra Pradhan will prove. We have to search.
Whatever his Leela is, he is Vishnu. And Ramchandra is the Supreme Lord, he took on the role of a king. Do we normally fast for any king's appearance? No. So whatever the form of the Lord, whatever role he takes in his Leela, he is still Vishnu, Tattva. So for me it's clear, but I don't know, you could maybe do some research, but for me it's quite clear, and that's why we fast, and that's why we treat this as a Vishnu Tattva appearance day.
Okay.
So again, my thing is better safe than sorry in regarding to grains. And it's a little austerity, but you know, devotees, austerities is what makes us strong, and what makes us advanced. So with Hari Bhakti Vilas, you can look that up. It's very, very heavy reactions if you take grains on Vishnu Tattva appearance days. So you just kind of not risk that. Even though, of course, you can find, like, there's some instances where Prabhupada said you can take grains, but Prabhupada sometimes did. Doesn't mean because Prabhupada said something we should do that for eternity. There's also time, place and circumstance. Right? And from what I know, Prabhupada said that this is in letters or examples. I cannot remember seeing it in Shastra where Prabhupada stated that you can take grains on Vishnu Tattva appearance days. So we know that lectures, room conversations, personal, whatever, it doesn't count as high as Shastra. There's different levels of, you know, how much weight things have. So time, place and circumstance, you know, there might be a special circumstance where it wasn't possible and Prabhupada ordered, yes, you can cook grains on this day. It's not like carved in stone for eternity. So I would say better safe than sorry, and austerities is what devotees have to perform, and it's a little austerity, not to have a grain on a certain day. You can make palatable foodstuffs, Ekadashi preparation, so. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. All glories Srila Prabhupada, all glories Srila Advaita Acharya.
Jai.
Krishna.